We are back once again with another Johnny Torch Live, number 30 edition. We're doing live broadcasts, so you lucky people. We've got a Torch News Roundup ready for you, number 65, for those of you keeping score. Yes, we've been doing this for over a year now, until I get it right. Okay. Welcome into the show. We've also got the comic book television, and oh, do we have it chock full of goodies for you this week. The Inhumans finale. So welcome in. I want to say especially happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there, all you guys and gals keeping us safe and of ours. God bless you all. We have a segment of the football picks, which we have coming up momentarily. I also want to take this time, though, before we actually get into the show, to check out my comic, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon, Private Eye. The screen. We've been talking about that the past couple of weeks with my trip to Mice Expo. Make sure you pick it up, a copy, and check it out in the description below to my website, as well as Twitter, which I want to remind everyone to check out my Twitter page because I have a poll about the greatest MCU film of the season. 2017 films ranked up there, starting with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, and we have Thor Ragnarok. Tie between Spider-Man Homecoming and Thor Ragnarok, so if you want to be the tie-breaking vote, will go to you page and vote. Of course, one more bit of business I have to mention, that I'm still a little bit under the weather. If my voice is coming across a little bit that direction, then apologies in advance. We did the Thor Ragnarok spoiler review. As a matter of fact, I'm just thinking, I don't think I put spoiler in the title. So make sure you have seen the movie before you check it out. I had to go back and put spoiler in that. But that was a lot of fun. It was close to an hour and a half. We went through everything, pretty much every film. It's a great film, and I got the chat up here if maybe we have time, which I doubt. Maybe we could out it at the end. But in any case, check out the Thor Ragnarok spoiler review that I did. I'm not getting a whole lot of views. Show me some love. It was a lot of fun. I love that movie. I can't wait to see it again. And we are going to move on here now with our first order of business. The first order of business for the day is Johnny's NFL football picks of the week. This is big week 10 in the NFL. The bye week, we got the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Raiders, and the Eagles, all with a bye week. Let's see my picks for this week, as I took the Seahawks over the Cardinals, and they won. Took the Saints over the Bills. In 24 hours, how good my prognostication has held up. Over the Packers. That's an unusual pick. That's because Aaron Rodgers is still out. Over the Browns. The Steelers over the Colts. The Chargers. The Titans over the Bengals. The Vikings over the Redskins. You know the Vikings are going to win because Ragnarok. Foregone conclusion. The Rams over the Texans. The Cowboys over the Falcons. The Giants over the 49ers. Boy, what a pick is that. Frying pan into the fire. I took the Giants because I've got to believe that Eli Manning can beat a 49ers team that's just... the Sunday nighter, oh boy. Oh boy. The Patriots at Denver. Now, the Patriots have always traditionally struggled in Denver when you had their seasons, but I don't know, Broncos haven't looked that great lately, so I'm not going to have any compunction about going with the Patriots on this one. I'm going with the Patriots for the victory. And for the Monday nighter, I've got the Panthers over the Dolphins. Those of you NFL fans out there, let me know what your picks are. let's see. Last week, I had 8 wins and 5 defeats. Not too bad on the season. I've got 82 big victories and 50 defeats. Still way above the Mendoza line, doing pretty well. And that's it for another edition of Johnny's NFL Football Picks of the Week. Live. Okay. But if that's not your bag, what we're all here for in the first place, we've got a Johnny Torch news roundup. Look at what the news we have. We haven't had a news update, it looks like, since. So it's been a couple of weeks since any news trickled out of. I just. Okay, first up, this is a bit of business that has been hanging around for a while, but wanted to mention it. Has gone on record as saying that he will only use his Batman theme for. So, whatever music that was in Batman v Superman, I can't really remember it. Play it. Use his original soundtrack from Batman '89. Of course, that's a masterpiece. Whole movie. We already covered a couple of weeks ago that Danny Elfman said that he will be using portions of Superman score in Justice League, but the first time we're hearing that he's going to just wholeheartedly use the Batman '89 theme as its. You think that's a good idea, or do you think that's meddling a little too much in mixing the, so to speak, and should we really just completely separate these fractions in the genre, or should we meld them? I've been always a proponent of melding the old with the new. Full-fledged John Williams, Christopher Reeve, Superman theme, DCEU. They kind of don't want to do that, I guess, because in a way it's a disservice maybe to the, by trying to like foist that music onto a new incarnation. I don't know. But since they seem to have no compunction of doing that here with Elfman's score, which is a brilliant score, of course, worry about the Superman score being used in Justice League either. But it sounds like they're only going to use snippets of it or teeth of it, so to speak. This brings up this, while I'm still on the subject, this reminds me that I did see in the credits, because you got to stay in the credits for the bitter end. And I did see that they said they used Joseph Harnell's legendary The Lonely Man theme, Ragnarok. Oh, that's what I mean about how if you use a motif of something so subtly, you're not really doing justice to that. I want these to be played where you can relish in them and not just say, oh yeah, they played a little snippet of it and I kind of can hear a couple bars of it. Unfortunately, it seems like the only we have right now is that it's going to be the Batman theme we hear from Danny Elfman. I think it's a good thing to do for all the old existing themes that are so great, because the themes nowadays really don't hold any resonance. Not too many of them anyway. I mean, I think Captain America has one that's pretty usable. Arguably the Superman theme that they have in Man of Steel, it just doesn't give you that sense of exhilaration that the John Williams one does. Move on now with our next order of business here. With the MC, with the DCEU, before we jump over the MCU. Let's see. We have news on 2. Suicide Squad 2 news in the making. Black Adam will make his feature debut. Squad 2. Kind of a strange idea, seeing as how he's a Shazam villain. Movie on the way, you would think he would make his debut there, but at his first appearance in the DCEU as a quote-unquote weapon of mass destruction, are going to posse up and go after. According to the report, also a big part, he's only going to be shooting for a couple of days. Gives people pause because this is almost the same thing they did with Enchantress, where she was one of these mystical villains that you would expect. I think I even said it in my review before. You would expect Shazam to defeat the Enchantress because she's one of those type villains. Another mystical villain, and they're only flesh and blood, and doesn't sound like the foregone conclusion would be to put him in this film. But we've heard all along that they're not, and they're dead set on this. They're not going to debut Sam. According to, I guess they're going to go with Dr. Sylvania, pronounce his name, which is really Captain Marvel / Shazam's villain, go-to villain. I think he's going to be the villain in Shazam, but they're going to get Black Adam in the Shazam film. Excuse me a minute while I take a little H2O between my lips. So, from what we know so far, Suicide Squad 2 will begin shooting March 18th. Too far away for a 2019 release. Also, as far as we know, Margot Robbie, Viola Davis, and Jared Leto will return. This is a pretty confusing thing to follow because for a while there we heard back as Harley, and Jared Leto's not going to be in it because they're going to do a movie. Before that, we heard Margot Robbie wasn't going to be in it because she was going to be doing a movie, which would co-star Ivy and Catwoman. So the most recent news I have is that Joker, Margot Robbie, and Jared Leto will be in Suicide Squad 2 before these other spin-offs see the light of day. All right, so let me know what you think about Rian Johnson joining the cast of Suicide Squad 2 appearance. Okay, so next up we have, speaking of Shazam, word for Billy Batson. Yes, because Torch News Roundup we got the casting for Shazam himself, which is Zachary Levi. This kid, I don't know him, but he looks like he's a pretty good Billy Batson. They look like they're casting young. The comic book version, anyway, and all the live incarnations that they've had so far, like a teenage Billy Batson, because, you know, you kind of, the orphan Billy Batson being like 11 years old, for some reason, I guess rubs people the wrong way. They don't think that that's, you know, a viable superhero. He's 10 years old in the body of a 35-year-old guy. But that's the original concept, so I'm glad they're going with that here. David Sandberg, I guess is his name, the director. So, but Asher Engel is his name, the new Billy Batson actor. It is going to be pretty interesting to see. It's sort of like, I think it's going to be a cross between like Big and Superman, I guess. The idea of becoming a man as a superhero and having all these. The whole thing that kind of gives me pause, though, is if you try to, you gotta remember that Shazam's powers is the wisdom of Solomon. S stands for, well, it was at one point, I think. I don't know if they've changed it. to be a very smart guy. It's not supposed to be that he's got the brain of a 10-year-old, 5-year-old superhero, but we'll see the take they have on it. I think, true that WB is not being quite so grim and gritty with their superhero pictures, as evidenced by Wonder Woman to an extent, and now Justice League supposedly. It should be a lot of fun, and I think that's what it should be. I believe Asher Angel is on the Disney Channel in some capacity. I don't know what show he's on. I did this if you recognize him. But yeah, he looks great. I think he's going to be a good Billy Batson. I wonder who's going to play Mortal Shazam, the old wizard. It'd be interesting if they got, what's his name? Chris Boswick? Is he the guy that played Shazam, I think, in the 70s? One of those Easter eggs that probably next to no one would remember. But yeah, the Shazam ISIS Hour. We'll be hearing more about ISIS later on in the show when we do our This Week in Comic Book Television. Asher Engel playing Billy Batson. Oh, also, we were talking about the villain for this piece being the rumor is that Mark Strong is being eyed as the villain. Now, it's not confirmed whether he'll be playing Dr. Sylvania, but he'll be the villain since it's not going to be Black Adam. And Shazam pretty much only has two memorable villains. Strong, as you may remember, played a wonderful Sinestro in the Green Lantern film with Hal Jordan, with Ryan Reynolds as Hal Jordan. Casting of all. I really hope he plays Sinestro instead of Dr. Sylvania, but we go back to that Green Lantern movie. We'll see if that holds true, and Mark Strong will play. All right, let's see. Next up, we have in our Torch News Roundup number 65, pension. Let's see. All right, this is a recent story, breaking news, that has been given a Star Wars trilogy completion of The Last Jedi. A little over a month now. And although he passed on doing episode 9, and that's going to J.J. Abrams, fingers crossed, Rian Johnson a trilogy of Star Wars films post episode 9. Now, as I scoured the news for this, he is going to be helming a Star Wars trilogy that has absolutely nothing to do Skywalker family. It's not going to have anything to do with the franchise proper. In other words, I don't think this is going to be episodes 10, 11, and 12, Finn and whoever survives episodes 8 and 9. Nobody survives. Maybe that's why it's an all-new trilogy. Who knows? Or maybe none of them are revealed to be offspring of Skywalker, because Kylo Ren probably not going to survive the trilogy. I don't know. That's all speculation. But what we do know is the trilogy of Star Wars films have nothing to do with the Skywalkers. A lot of people are saying this might be the Knights of the Old Republic movies that everybody's been clamoring for, everybody but me, of course. No, I guess that's films about the Jedi, or stories about the Jedi that take place for the events of A New Hope or Phantom Menace, at the earliest. Young Yoda, young meaning maybe 130 years old or something. Well, that's interesting and would be a curiosity. I don't really know that I am that interested in going back that far. I really would like to go back to the day of Finn and him being an apprentice to Count Dooku, to go back to and see some of the days of the Old Republic, thousands of years back, when it was just a couple of, decades before the Phantom Menace. Maybe see Yoda training Count Dooku. It's his final Padawan, as legends go. One last thing about this, I I don't know if I can be excited about this, seeing as how we haven't seen Last Jedi yet. And of course, if it's kind of the way The Force Awakens did, that was a great waste of opportunity to give him 3 more films already. Lucasfilm is only trusting a select few. They're playing their cards really close to the vest. Very many people handle a Star Wars film, or in this case, where they're going to obviously hand Johnson 3 films at once. Also, I don't think he's going to be writing and directing them all. The first one, that's been confirmed. We don't know just how far he's going to be taking the other 2, heading this new chapter in the Star Wars universe. That as well. Comments below. Okay, one more bit of business here before we move on to our This Week in Comic Book Television. We round up the number 65, bouncing around about Disney has been eyeing to buy their movie division. Now that's interesting because that would finally, at long last, unite all of Marvel's characters under one umbrella in Marvel, which would mean they would get back the Fantastic Four and the X-Men franchises. Of course, we all want to see that. I think most of us want to see that, seeing as how Hugh Jackman has left. He's retired the role of Logan. I said before, I think the rumor goes that Hugh Jackman says he will return to Logan provided he can be in an Avengers movie. So we would probably be getting Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine for at least one movie to acquire Fox. So far, it's basically no talks are being held at this point anymore. The reports that I've seen is that this doesn't mean that talks can't resume, but held right now, so don't expect anything moving on this front. I would be for it because at this point, I think if they don't want to fold in the new existing X-Men films, meaning that they're doing now with the Dark Phoenix coming out next month, they've already had a good run of going to be 4 movies. I suppose heartbreaking to see them start over the mutants in the DC Disney Marvel universe in the MCU. But that would hold for division because with the Gifted and Legion, I don't know if that would ruin any of their plans, because if they would still be separate with the television division, probably they would, conflicting X-Men properties, which could be problematic. As of now, it's just a fun little cool tidbit to, how would they fold the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, mind you, because the Fantastic Four, to me, I really don't even need the X-Men in the MCU. I've said that all along. Good enough job, quite honestly. I mean, you have to admit, I liked X3, even if you want to count X3. First Class, Days of Future Past, they've gotten it right more often than not. Fox, Apocalypse wasn't great, but it's another one if you want to just say it was a so-so movie. And that's not even talking about the Wolverine movies. I suppose they're 50-50 there. So, it's not a disaster to keep the X-Men at Fox. The Fantastic Four, on the other hand, crashed and burned under the Josh Trank film, which because he didn't really get to make the movie he wanted to make anyway, which probably wouldn't have been any better. But I like the Tim Story one's way of doing it, and it was fine, but that's long in the past. So, you really want to see Fantastic Four get brought back into the fold, and this is probably the way to do it right. Requires Fox. So let me know what you think about that in the comments below, and we will move on now. Thank you for tuning in. If that is the Torch News Roundup, that is all your news for this week in comic book news. Basically 2 weeks in comic book news. All right, so now we move on to our book television. All right, let's take a look at now. What do we got here? Let's start. We're talking about the X-Men stuff. Let's start with The Gifted, because that's what we were just... Okay, so fun here with The Gifted this week. And Daddy Strucker went on a mission. They had to break into this place, and but that was the crux of the story, was about that. Meanwhile, Lauren met Wes, who is on the right here in this picture. Only his debut in Gifted, and he's already being called to the task to help them with this week. We had some interesting things going on here. Polaris on the left there was trying to train Lauren as well as some others. She came into opposition against Amy Acker, who didn't really want her kids being taught, guerrilla warfare for mutants. And I thought that was pretty cool. The most difficult conversation you're ever going to have with your kids on how to not accidentally kill somebody with your mutant powers, as Reed was trying to tell Andy. Like I said, he's such a like a tightrope character. You never really know which way he's going to turn. He can freak out at a moment's notice, and it makes me wonder if this show goes like 10 seasons or something, if we're not going to see him become the villain of the piece. I would hate to see that happen, because I actually like him a lot, but I feel that they're laying groundwork for that if it should happen in the future. About Marco's backstory when you talk with Reed about him and so forth. So then we get the character of Jace, because I was trying to figure it out from last week, where he's the guy that's the Sentinel Services. He's a bit nuts ever since he found out that his daughter died again, because of the mind shenanigans going on with him. So that was pretty interesting to see him making a little bit of a nutty. All right, we finally got that Thunderbird Blink confrontation. Blink had those memories planted in her mind of Thunderbird. And as I said on Twitter, a emotionally compromised Blink thing actually liked what I said and gave me a like. Hey, it made my day. And we also have Andy used his powers there to help them get out of that situation, but Polaris also learn to use their powers a little bit here under Polaris. I think Polaris will be a fun for them going forward, because I think eventually they all are going to follow behind her, and their marching orders, so to speak, from her. Because, like I said, the apple didn't really fall far from the tree. I mean, she's pretty militant as a much like Magneto. I can't see crap when push comes to shove. So, and Polaris is still my favorite character on the show. I think she's great. And all right, so that's basically it. Let me see if I gotta rank this one. Gee, it's been such a long time since I've seen this one, but I thought it was pretty good. I'm gonna give 4.5 stars out of 5. 4.5 stars out of 5 for this week's. Alrighty, let's see. All right, next up, EW shows. Let's see. Alrighty, we have first up The Flash. That's right. This one was called Girls' Night Out, I think, if I remember correctly. Because, like I said, I don't really keep the names of the. Got some notes about what happened, but it is a appropriate title because it was basically revolved around the show plus Felicity um, here from Arrow for Iris's bachelorette party, which I was trying to think, is this also Cecile's bachelorette party? Because she's not married to Joe yet either, and they're expecting, I don't know, a wedding here or something. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, that was the basis for the show. Caitlin becomes Killer Frost again, which was something I've been waiting for. I wasn't too crazy about the fact that it seems like she's got some kind of control on it where she can be half and half. Ended it, the show. I was hoping they'd have more fun with her not being able to control these powers, as we went into last time. She's sort of like a Rose and Thorn character. Sleeping, the other comes out to play. And that would have been more fun if they kept up with that, but it looks like she's got sort of like a hand on the wheel here. Felicity references the Incredible Hulk, which I thought was great, of course. The Incredible Hulk exists, at least in some capacity, in the Arrowverse. So Caitlin's accosted by her former boss. I believe her name was Amnet Black. I think it's Amnet Black, played by Katie Sackhoff, and she's a pretty odd and funny character in her own right. I think she's going to have a recurring role this season, a crime boss or something. So Annette Black has Magneto-type powers, at least it seemed that way to me. They didn't really go into too much what she could do, but she could make it like a boxing glove or something. I don't know. I was a little dubious as to her go at the end because it seemed like a little, whenever you do that, they're asking for trouble in the future, and it's going to be trouble because she already basically told her that she was going to, especially being Killer Frost, you would think she'd have some kind of, I mean, that she didn't, Caitlin or whatever, but kind of, I don't know. I couldn't see Caitlin being that stupid. That's like that was going to happen. And the guy that MacGuffin for this whole thing, Tears of a Clown there, whatever his name was, he ended up getting zapped again at the end by the Thinker. So I don't know exactly what is one of the 12, I guess, the 12 disciples of the Thinker. Caitlin comes clean to everybody, and they're all in on the secret now that she's having films. We had Ralph taking the guys out for a bachelor party, and Barry getting bombed on Cisco's experimental booze before. Cisco's always thinking of a way to build a better moonshine. That kid. But that was really funny seeing wasted Flash or wasted Barry, where he's like, I just went and got peanuts. He, of course, is a very funny character. Sort of the lovable rogue. That was pretty much on display here. We had the little subplot there with Cecile's daughter was a stripper for her something. I don't know. But, I mean, it kind of felt like there was time they did something with that character because, she's sort of like the of the Wests now because her, other than I guess she'll show up maybe for Thanksgiving dinner. But, in other words, it's interesting they did something with her. I don't know if that was. It was a decent episode. It was pretty fun. My biggest problem episode. Did anybody notice that? In costume the entire episode. And that kind of, it I don't mind giving the other characters a chance to shine. I mean, this was yet again basically the two-headed serpent, if you will, of the Arrowverse. You either love them or hate them, and they took center stage here. Funny, it was fun, but I would still not give this one very high ratings, but I would say 5 for This Week in the Flash. This Week in the Flash. Okay. Now to Legends of Tomorrow. Let's switch over to Legends of Tomorrow. also happened to be on Tuesday. This was an interesting episode because they led you to believe, at least, that they were going to go angle. Now, Rip is in hunting for somebody called Mollis. Now, for a minute there, I thought that was the vampire's name, but not a vampire. It's just some hunting down. I'm not sure. We still had involved in this because they really have given him the shaft, and in this sense, I think they gave him the shaft again in this episode. Jump all over the place here with my, but Sarah ends up turning Rip over to the Time Bureau so that he's put out of action. Well, he locked down the ship, and the ship is technically not his anymore, and he made a deal with Sarah and kind of rubbed her the wrong way, and so now she turned him over to the Time Bureau. So now Rip's out of action, and as usually the case, at least in the past 2 seasons, smartest guy on the show, consistently getting the shaft because nobody wants to listen to him. Playing that up with the show now, and it's like, well, these guys don't know what they're doing, and they're idiots, and they cause more trouble than they're worth, but we're still supposed to side with them over Rip, who actually has at least brain when it comes to things with time travel and the Time Bureau and stuff. Brain when it comes to these things compared to them. They keep mistreating Rip like this. And I mean, the writers, I don't know why, if I was his name right now, but the actor, I don't even know if I want to even be on the show anymore, because just marginalizing him to the point now where he's, not even an extra appendage. They're just basically the only one with a brain, and no one will listen to him. It's pretty sad. They trying to help separate Jax, Martinstein, because as the subplot's been going all season, he wants to separate because Stein wants to grandson. This is basically a real life problem where they need to get him out of the show pretty soon because Broadway or something. They kind of resolved it in a way where I guess Stein is like saying he'll stay, gonna probably last all season. The humor was a little bit more raunchier here. I wasn't really too crazy about that. This is probably the weakest episode of the season for me so far. The end, it wasn't a vampire, but Damien Dark, who was sort of the MacGuffin here that they were going after. I like Neil McDonough. He's hilarious as Damien Dark, and you got to see him on playing. That was pretty funny. I mean, I don't mind them keep bringing him back as long as they can do something fun with him, because he's a fun character. And that even came out on Arrow season 4 when that season was pretty much a drag. He was still fun in that. We had also the subplot of Isis, the medium. I don't remember what her name was, or if she's supposed to be a character from the comics, but the medium by Courtney Ford, who just happened to be Brandon Routh's wife in real life. Apparently, she's going to be a wife, I must add. She was in the Human Target in an episode. That's how I first found out about her as an actress, and I'm happy that she's finally getting something good here. A recurring character, apparently, because she got away at the end of this episode with Damien Dark to be sort of a or something, and got the totem away from Isis because she was, as a medium, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know what her character is going to do from here on, but it looks like they're not going to be afraid to embrace more mystical elements this season again on the show. It looked like to me Sarah had a new costume. I'm not sure. I think Vixen even has a new costume, but we got to see them briefly in this. Again, link of the Legends show is they don't get into costume enough for me. But anyway, so it's another week where I'm going to give this one 3.5 stars out of 5. That's 3.5 stars out of 5 for Legends of Tomorrow. Yeah, it was fun. All right, so we are going to move on now to what we have here. Arrow. Oh, yes. I'm going to give Arrow episode of the week. Yes, Arrow wins episode of the week this week. For last, if I'm going to proclaim a show episode of the week, but this is the first time for Arrow, I think, this season that I've given them episode of the week status. It went to Legends a couple of times. It went to Inhumans the first week when there was only like 3 shows on, and then it went to Gotham one week because Gotham had actually been pretty good for a while. All right, so as you see right there, that's one of the reasons why we're going. Arrow, Slade Wilson is back. How can you not love Manu Bennett back as Slade Wilson and not have? I wish he was back more. Of course, he's going to be back next week, so that's going to be fun to see this storyline continue. A little disappointed once again that Ollie is still not in costume. Now, the whole thing was that to ask him for help, Slade was going to ask him for help as the mayor, as a political figurehead. So it's understandable that, we don't see this episode. That didn't bother me. The only thing that does bother me is that they're taking so damn long getting him back in costume as the Green Arrow. I'm getting the shakes. Arm. I don't know what the heck is going on. I'm going to play out that scene right for you right now. I just want to see Arrow. I just want to see Green Arrow back. I want to see Ollie back as the Green Arrow. But as I said, this is a great episode. This was a great episode. So Slade wants Ollie's help to find Joe, a.k.a. Kane. He's calling himself Kane something or other now. Back at the ranch, there's not a whole lot going on this episode. Getting questioned by the FBI agent, and so has Felicity. Felicity mentions being in the Flash this week, because usually they don't do that. Usually, if a character is in Central City, they won't have them in the same week be in the other show. Yeah, also, we got a cameo of Curtis in Legends of Tomorrow, which I didn't mention there, but I mean, it was only the briefest of cameos, but still, I mean, it was fun. I love seeing this cross-pollination when you just see Felicity or a glimpse like Curtis. You feel like you're in a full world of universe. I wish they could do that with Supergirl. We'll get to Supergirl in a little while because it was a great day for Supergirl as well. We'll get to that when we get to that. Okay, so besides, of course, Slade, for me was Vigilante is back. And Vigilante is back with a vengeance. It's about time. I don't know what happened to him. He put him on ice for a long time. In a sense that they had to because they got so much going on. Excuse me for a second. So we finally found out who Vigilante is. Well, Black Canary uses her powers, Dinah Drake, unmasking Vigilante, her former partner and love interest. I didn't really see a whole lot of feedback on this, but from what I understand, I don't think a lot of people liked this revelation. Because if you weren't going to use Adrian Chase, which was the comic book, and they already made a swerve with that, and they made Prometheus and Chase character, you had to make the character somebody that we wouldn't expect. And I don't think anybody expected that guy to survive, although, this is a superhero show. It's obviously purview to have a, superhero show can survive less than this guy. But yeah, obviously he's like a little deranged now, and he's going after people as a vigilante. Alderman or whatever she was that was trying to pass the vigilante bill or whatever. So, I liked it. I thought it was great, and I thought it gives Dinah a chance to be in the forefront. Not given her due so far in the show this season. See her get a spotlight in the show. good out of this. We haven't really gotten a good story arc out of her yet since she's joined the team. You know, like I said, the biggest thing they've done with her is put her on Diggle's case, and that's it's a terrible way to use her. Mary is such an important part of the Green Arrow's history that even if they're not going to make her the romantic arrow like she's supposed to be, she needs to have a important presence on the show. Do with Laurel's Black Canary. That's something they did with Sarah's Black Canary, and it scared them, and so they got rid of her. And since in this case we already know that she's not in any way, shape, or form romantically linked with Ollie, they should be able to still develop her and giving her her due. Of course, they're not going to ever make them romantically linked because of the Felicity drama. They're going to continually into the romantic partner slot for Ollie. But as long as they're doing justice to Black Canary, I'll still be happy. So to get back to the Slade decimates those guys like a beast. That was just wonderful. We got to see him in action again, finally, after all that time, just going through guys like a knife through butter. His buddy at the time called him the Terminator earlier in the episode. That was a nice Easter egg because, he was Deathstroke, the Terminator. It wasn't really a surprise to me. I think by the end of the episode, I figured out that Joe was going to be the boss. Called. Didn't really surprise me. The continuation is going to be next week, so we're going to find out. Ollie is going to be joining him, and hopefully will be in costume. There's been no Green Arrow from Ollie since, what was it, the third episode, and we're on 6 now? I don't know. It just seems like it's been forever. Right, so I am going to give this episode of Arrow, because I really liked what they did with Vigilante, and the story's not over yet either. Hopefully they'll really build that up all season. And the stuff going on between Slade and Ollie with Joe and Kane, the head of this villain faction. I'm going to give Arrow this week. I can't give it 5 because he wasn't in this costume. So Ollie wasn't in costume. So I've got to give him out of 5. That's 4.5 stars out of 5. Green Arrow. It's not so much that, but the thing is that if they sold me on why he's not in costume, like I said before, I mean, you could sell me on it like Superman 2, where you sold me on hours and this and that. He's doing it here, but the execution is not really working for me. So, 4.5 stars out of 5 for Arrow this week. All right, but it is still getting our episode of the week status. So you get a gold star, Ollie. We're already a little under an hour so far, but let's try to get to the rest of the shows here. Take a look at MacGyver this week because I'm trying to catch up on MacGyver. Time permitting. But we've got the season finale of the Inhumans, possibly the series finale of the Inhumans. And I gotta say, I was underwhelmed by this. The whole season was underwhelming to an extent, but the finale, I was hoping they would at least try to pay it off. Declan, that was something that was a surprise to me. Henry Ian Cusack. Erroneous finale for him. I don't understand it. I mean, Gorgon just kicks him through a wall or something and he's dead. I mean, the guy had a wife. Oh, what's going on? Did you just kill a guy like that? But everything about this episode was very underwhelming to me. And Switch, and if he doesn't put his, so to speak, if he doesn't put his palm on the if he doesn't put his palm on it, then Adelan gets destroyed. The Inhumans play footsie with him for about an hour, dragging him around, and it just to knot, so to speak. Medusa goes back to see Louise. and they make arrangements to down to Earth. Pretty much the same week I see Thor Ragnarok doing the same thing. As I even said, I wouldn't be surprised if that ship we see at the end of Ragnarok is the space arc for the Inhumans. They can meet up with the Asgardians. Um, so I like the flashbacks. The flashbacks are always pretty cool, and we found out in the flashback that Maximus says that the reason why Black Bolt killed his parents was that Max falsified papers to say that enter Black Bolt and to have surgery or something, and frightened him enough to say why, and that's what killed his parents. So indirectly, Black Bolt killed them, but it was Maximus' plan. Although Maximus didn't want his parents to get killed, trying to get Black Bolt out of the picture, much like Loki, get him out of the picture so he can take the throne. I thought that was good. That was probably the episode was seeing that. Attilan blows up. Black Bolt gets everybody to safety. Medusa tries to talk Maximus out of it one more time. I don't remember in the comics her being quite so empathetic to Maximus. Now I got to go back and look at them again because maybe it's been a while. That's why I don't remember. But use for him, and in this, I thought it was a very good speech or whatever that they had to one another, where felt guilty for treating him like everybody else did as a useless person. But Maximus did, have some pretty good lines too, where he was like, "Now this is why." True, because he took her powers away from her with the hair. It was pretty good. I mean, it wasn't the greatest that you could do with the Inhumans, but they did right by the characters in that sense. I kind of felt something for them. They still didn't really, they tried to embrace that Medusa had and her character arc sort of the Inhumans, the royal family, to feel some kind of growth, that they weren't treating the people entirely fairly. That Black Bolt kind of was trying to be, and I think in a sense, kind of character arc in that sense with Black Bolt, but I think basically it was only Medusa that kind of came to that conclusion, and even then, she still is kind of uptight. I mean, she was still standing behind Black Bolt's decisions, and she was also pretty tough on Karnak. That was one of the things that bugged me the most. Not Karnak so much bringing Gorgon back to life, but up of the Terrigenesis that Black Bolt wanted to go through it. I mean, Maximus wanted to go through it again to see if he can get his powers the second time. It becomes a big anticlimactic thing that Gorgon gets his powers. Gorgon comes back to life and goes mad. Never goes through the Terrigenesis and goes mad. They were holding back for. That's the worst thing that you can ever do, is hold back for a second season that never happens. Didn't end this one with a payoff. They're not going to get a second season. You need to at least keep people talking at the end of the and hope that there'll be another season. I hope there'll be another season because, like I said, I've seen a lot of potential in this. Potential in the characters, the actors are all very good, for the most part. He didn't even give Black Bolt a chance to display his powers. At the very end, in the bunker, as Attilan's to be destroyed, him the king of an empty people. The people have all been emptied out. He doesn't kill him, and he says, "Farewell, brother," which causes like a minor bunker. But so we get to hear Black Bolt speak, but we don't get that Lee Kirby buildup of he's going to speak, and this is going to be tearing the foundations off the moon in this case. So I was disappointed with that as well. In the original comics of Black Bolt speaking was Land's barrier so that the Inhumans could go and rejoin. They already brought them to the moon in this show, so they didn't have that trapped in Attilan and needed to be, released. Part of the thing was in the original concept was that Bolt wanted to keep everybody in this own little private society so that it wouldn't endangering them to be mixing with the humans. Opposite thing here, where he's like now in with the rest of humanity. I don't know. It was just a little bit of a convoluted thing. There was the Eldrak portal that Black Bolt escapes through because Lockjaw already transported the whole family. After kind of a freaky looking guy, I don't know what it was that was stuck in a wall that let people through. I don't know. Their costumes back on when they're on Earth. They wore those street clothes through the whole darn series. So it was street clothes the whole time, besides Maximus. That was very disappointing to me too. And like I said, people complain that the costumes looked cheap or foolish or whatever. They didn't even get a chance to wear them in the last episode after only wearing them in the first episode. So the costumes weren't the problem. The problem was they weren't wearing the costumes. Keep in mind that, as you know, I've mentioned probably several times this week, this wasn't really a good week for heroes in costume, but Inhumans at the very end in costume. Also, just want to touch on briefly the fate of Orion. We don't know what happens. It was like Maximus was getting on her last nerve. At stage left. I don't know what happened to her. They're saving that for if there is going to be another season, I guess. The kid abilities. I don't know. I mean, we don't know what happened to him either, but he was telling them the truth. He said he's going to be Maximus the truth that he's going to be the leader of Attilan, but I guess apparently he wasn't telling them the whole story because he's the leader of Attilan when there's nothing left on Attilan. So I guess that's what that was supposed to mean, and that nobody was going to oppose him. So, all right. So finally, the final analysis, season 2, but just give them a decent budget. Keep them their costumes. Give them a decent budget so they can display some powers besides Karnak. Ambitious showrunner, because Scott Buck, of course, the showrunner here and the showrunner of Iron Fist, is not really the most ambitious showrunner. Season 2 would be golden. It would be great because the Inhumans are a great team of heroes if you can, get the most out of them. And I don't know if they did this season. Whole season. What would I give the whole season? I would probably give the whole season of the Inhumans 3.5 stars out of 5. I don't want to be too mean because 4 stars if this finale, if they ended on a high note, but I felt like they ended with one of their worst episodes. I mean, the episodes with Karnak and whatever, for a couple episodes there, that was rough going. And so was Black Bolt in prison, the Hawaiian guy at the end of it all. But anyway, so I'm going to give the Inhumans as a season 5. That's 3.5 stars out of 5. Basically, that's what it was. It was just kind of meh all around. All right, so now we are officially about an hour. More things here to do, so let us get to it. If my voice holds out. Excuse me one more time. But I've got to at least get to Gotham this week. Too, yeah. Geez, we also got the MacGyver, so we might be here for another hour. Okay, so Gotham this week. What happened with Gotham? Gotham. Uh, they put the Bruce Wayne subplot on hold yet again, which I'm thankful for because I hate what they did with him last time. He was a teenage alcoholic and whatever. He's going to be put in the Betty Ford clinic before he's even 16 years old. To the Solomon Grundy and Ed storyline, where Grundy literally beats a guy arm, only on Gotham. I could have done without that. Of course, they got to do some gratuitous, at least every 2 weeks, I guess. But anyhow, so he did it in a couple of occasions here too. He almost did it to Tabitha at the end. Before we get any further with that, uh, so um, Ed is doing like a pantomime act at this fight club. He's Oswald, as you see in the picture there. He's pretending he's the Penguin, basically. And of course, this doesn't sit well with the Penguin, who finds out, and he's still with Ed. I kind of wish they would get past this, but he's at war with Ed still. So he sends and Selina to go retrieve him. And to make a long story short, they don't do it in time, and he sends Firefly there to do them all in. Now, Selina's going to kidnap Ed, but they try to settle it in the Narrows way, which is, I guess, right to the death, a winner take all. And okay, is a fight between Tabby and a little bit of a pause here because I had to plug this back in. The plug fell out of the computer, but it's okay because the battery was still working. Yes, so they have a fight, Tabby and Solomon Grundy, and Grundy doesn't really remember her, but Tabby ends up winning at the end of it all. Cherry, which is, I guess, the owner of the club, is going to kill them because she's still in the Penguin's pocket. But Lee, who suddenly is a stone cold killer, shoots her right between the eyes. Shot, well, that's right, that was Babs that shot Cherry right between the eyes. Babs shot Firefly, which didn't kill her, but it caused her gas pack to blow up or something. So, the funny thing then is that Lee is going to take over for Cherry in this club. So that's an interesting thing because trying to make a more rough and tumble version of Lee with her. I throw up my hands at this point with Gotham because, especially in this, when you see all the positioning of all these characters for some reason, and then everybody forgave somebody else for some reason. It's like a soap opera. I mean, you could say that about any of these shows. The Flights of Fancy or whatever, but there's people making alliances with other people that they hate, and then they double cross them, and then they get back on their good side. And that's basically what's been going on with Gotham since season 1. Who's double crossed who and who's working for who. Now Babs is not working for Penguin anymore. Again, they still got a grudge against Ed because he chopped off Tabitha's hand or something. I mean, it's like you never know whose allegiances are going to be with who because they don't always want to kill each other, but they're always jockeying around for position, I guess I should say, for their own advantage. All right, so going back to this was probably the best part. It was a pretty good episode considering because nothing much really is resolved with most of these subplots, but schools this kid about revenge, and that was pretty funny. The kid is being bullied and whatever, and he writes down everything he has to say. Take him under his wing, and teach him how to shiv people and stuff. And it was really funny. It's funny because I never actually expected the Penguins to take up residence in an orphanage, but is outright admitting to Gordon that she's playing the Penguin like a harp from hell, to quote a very famous. For his part, though, in a way, making the Penguin completely fall for it. It seems. Now, in a way, I'm disappointed about this because he should have fell for it. But since they already gave him that romance with Ed, and he's not going to ever let his emotions cloud his judgment again or whatever, so we can't have this happen. Fool. And he's not an idiot. The Penguin. He shouldn't be an idiot, but still, he usually lets his heart get away from him. I said before in the comics or in the cartoons, so wasted this opportunity. On with Jim Gordon this week is he finally offered to become the police captain. Happened by now, but Harvey didn't take the news too well. He backed out of the police get together that they were going on. He accidentally shot the cop last week that was there. And you can see the real wedge being brought between them two. I don't mind that too much if last season or something and you kind of have him going off to being Commissioner Gordon and they're not going to be buddies anymore. But that, these guys are buddies, have been buddies from the beginning. It's like it was hard because Jim didn't really want to take the job, but it's like he's taking the job because the best for Gotham, because Harvey really isn't real. And I think even Harvey knows it. He's just trying his best to, put on a brave front and keep the trains going on time. And so, yeah, like I said, so Sophia is trying to say that she's pulling the strings for Jim and helping him on these. Jim's not having any of it. That's what I thought that's what made that whole romantic little subplot with them earlier in the season all the more ridiculous, because I don't think Gordon's that stupid either, where he's going to keep falling for Sophia, her eyes at him. So didn't really go any further with that. All right, so yeah, that was about it. Yeah, so I liked it better than what we had the last couple of weeks. I'm so glad we took a break from Professor Pig. He's probably going to come back pretty soon, but that's about it for Professor Pig for this week. This week, I'm going to give Gotham 4 stars out of 5. 4 stars out of 5 for Gotham this week. Let's move on now to our next CW show. This is Supergirl. Yes, Supergirl. Let's get ready for that. Let's get ready to rumble. Rumble in the Jungle. All right, this episode was directed by Kevin Smith, and he was talking about he was going back to, well, this was the episode. Not a whole lot of it was mythish. All right, should we get to the Alex Maggie stuff right away? This is probably why they called him in, because he's been known to do before, maybe, with the breakups and stuff. I don't know, but they finally ripped the Band-Aid off the wound that is the Alex and Maggie romance. Again, this has been something they've been building up all season. Finally, it's over! I'm free! Yeah, the Alex and Maggie subplot is no more. The actress that plays Maggie, I think, is going off to another show. To sad, sorry subplot that's taken up a valuable airtime and time from my life that I'll never get back again. If you don't get the idea, I hated the subplot. For no other reason than it was boring as heck. A romance or soap opera plot or a gay romance soap opera plot. I'm sure there are places you can go. Supergirl should not be the place for it. That much time. There's romantic endeavors that I've ever had to be put through. And finally, it's over, and I guess it's not coming back. Who knows? Can I be that lucky? I don't know. Knock wood. They went out, having a final fling, I guess, at the end. And, the writers said that they didn't want any one person to be the bad guy. They didn't want you to hate Maggie, but at the same time, they kind of made Maggie the catalyst for this because she was so dead set against having children or whatever. So whatever. So they made that the sticking point of their breakup because Alex always wanted to have children. You know, they could have just done it any number of 1,000 ways, I suppose. Is that any better or worse than any other way? I don't know. Whatever. As long as it's over is all I care for. Now, hopefully this post-breakup thing doesn't drag on for like decades of my life have been. But because they're going back to Midville or whatever. I don't know. No, that's Riverdale. I don't know. Anyway, but they're old stomping grounds, sort of like Supergirl's Smallville, Midville, or something. Story. Anyhow, this story this week wasn't really all that interesting. Last week, but it was more interesting. They're not giving Supergirl enough challenges. This one is another plain fiasco that's going to blow up and break apart and this and that. I want to see a throwdown with the Girl of Steel. I want to see the Girl of Steel go up against someone with the same powers, but I mean a good threat level, a good challenge, so to speak. Too much this season at all. Maybe they're saving it for when Rain comes in. I don't know, but it was mostly stuff this week. Kara trying to uncover the subplot of Lena Luthor, and it was a welcome addition to see Lena get a little something more to do this week. She got spotlight focus here a lot this week, but and the show is as subtle as a sledgehammer with the Morgan Edge returning to pin the on Lena because she created the device that might. As convoluted as those Daxamites subplot was last season, I'm starting to miss them more than this. I mean, where's Livewire? Where's, you bring back the Master Jailer. I always liked him. Hope he wasn't killed off in that first season because they could have brought him back. The Bizarro Supergirl, what's going on with her? Kids getting poisoned with lead. I mean, it's just not really that much hero show. Again, this is a show that for some reason doesn't want to be thought of as a superhero show, but wants to be thought of as like a SJW socially relevant show, and putting the superheroics on the back burner. Bomb from last season, Adrian Pasteur was back as Morgan Edge. He showing his true colors here. James gets shot. They still keep pushing, I think, Lena and James into a romance. I really wish they'd put James back in the Guardian suit and not have him saddle him with a romance. I mean, could have kept him with Lucy Lane. I would have been happy to just keep that on the back burner and have that as something that they go back to once in a while. But with him, and best thing they could have done with him. But I think they don't want to put too many heroes on the show because Supergirl doesn't have much to do as it is. What are they going to do with these other characters? They might have to actually write superhero. I believe that in a superhero show. So Lena gets the focus here, and I thought she did had some good drunk scenes, if I have to put it like that. Drunk or very good drunk here. She still looked great, even though she was hammered. And she had a great line that stuck out to me where she said, poison children. Really, because she's a good girl. She doesn't want to hurt anybody, and she wants to so desperately break away from the family name. Her mother is also a criminal that we've seen in the past, last season. It was really heartbreaking, and so I thought, she did really good in this episode. It really elevated this episode a lot to really see a focus on her. At the end, it pulls a gun on Max, which I thought was a little, I don't know. The finish with the plane was pretty exciting. I did like that she did a good action scene, Supergirl, on the show. They're still very lightweight on the superhero theatrics this season. Heads out of the grass and get into the genre again, do some genre stuff. The Supergirl and Morgan Edge showdown at the end. You know, we kind of want her to punch him in the face, but you know that would probably turn his face into silly putty, and so they couldn't do it. So another kind of blase episode. We didn't get a whole lot of Rain again. Rain being sort of we found out that she's bulletproof, which I guess is a shock to her as much as it's a shock to the rest of us. Yeah, this was a pretty good episode. They're still chugging away with that Rain plot, that Rain subplot. I'm gonna give this episode, well, geez, I don't know. There was a decent Supergirl action scene, so I got to give it for that. Great. We finally got rid of Sanvers. Hallelujah. So I'm going to give this one 4 stars out of 5. Nothing special, but it gets a little bump for mentioned things. So this week, Supergirl gets 4 stars out of 5. All right. I'm going to try to continue on here and give you my brief this season's MacGyver. Now, I fell far behind on MacGyver, and even though the show is running late here as it is, notes for episodes 2 through 5, I believe. I've written down 6 here, but I think it's 5 because 6. That was the one that was coming up next that I didn't see. All right, so just briefly, let's go over a few of them. Episode 2, Solo Mission. That was pretty cool. She's still gun shy, obviously, about killing the guy from the end of the last season. Handled really well. The opening there, they didn't explain how they got off the plane. It was like, oh, it's Reilly's fault. All this is going on because she couldn't shoot the guy. But then again, we didn't see how Mac saved the day because there was no more parachutes. There was no more. They landed that plane. I don't know. I didn't hear it. But there was a relationship between Jack and Reilly. I thought that was sweet. Like I said, that I like her. That I like him being her stepdad, kind of. Them being like all contemporaries. But yeah, this was a sweet episode between them two, where I was trying to look out for her, and you know, in this episode, I just don't know how much they want to rely on that cheese. There was a great kind of Chuck E. Cheese-esque. 3 now. There was real funny stuff with them in the igloo. A heist episode where they were basically trying to pull one over on, I don't know, some rich girl that was, and she gone too far, and that's why they were trying to pull one over on her. But to be honest with you, I don't have a ton of notes for this one because it was just a fun undercover heist episode. You know, in costume doing different things. Reilly's dressed up, and the Aussie babe is in it doing something. What's her name? Cage. Cage. I still don't know if we really need the Aussie babe in the show. Kind of like they're not making her like a love interest, which is good, but it's kind of like I don't know why they need her. Then it's like one of those things where is it a requirement because we need to have 2 women on the show because the Bechdel test or whatever not take. I don't know. It's ridiculous, but kind of cool that that MacGyver kind of assigned her role in the thing, where he said she's sort of the everybody likes. I forget what he said about everybody else, but Bozer's like the class clown, and Jack is the crazy uncle. But that was interesting. They progressed with her pretty well. episode. I'm not ranking these, I guess, but I mean they're all like 4 stars out of 5. All right, episode 4. Now this was the important one, I think. That's why I got a picture up there of this. Once again, now in this incarnation of MacGyver, Murdoc has a son, and they're playing that pretty interestingly because they're also in this version having MacGyver trying to find his dad. Position both stories here, where Murdoc's trying to do anything he can to find his son, and MacGyver's trying to do anything he can to find his dad, which we don't really know still at this point why his father's apparently hiding out on him and leaving when he was a kid. Because after his mother died, we get the flashback in this episode as well, where after his mother died, Mac's granddad, who of course was a big part of the original show, we find out that he gave him the Swiss Army knife. That happened in the original show. I think it was the same concept where it was his grandfather's. But anyhow, so that was a nice scene. That was very nice. And, you know, that his father still loves him, but thing right now. And apparently that lasted for, what is it, 20 years? I don't know how old he's supposed to be, but he was like 7 years old or something when that happened. Still hoping that they're going to get Richard Dean Anderson back to play MacGyver's father in this. News, I should have put this in the news segment, but I forgot. But Bruce McGill is coming back to the show, or coming to the show from the original series. Alton, of course. And as I understand, he's going to play a detective. It disappoints me, because it means he's going to be pretty unrecognizable. Con artist or a wise guy, or even this Jack Dalton's father. Ways into feeling like, yeah, we've got the old band back, you know, just for one song. Probably going to make him a completely different character. He's probably going to be unrecognizable if you didn't know that it was Dalton. They're not going to throw an Easter egg of him wearing the bomber jacket or something, I think. Hoping to see, but I don't know if they can go that far. Okay. I got to hurry this up before my voice goes completely. All right. We got drugged MacGyver, which was a classic thing on the show. They drugged MacGyver on the show a couple of times before, where he was he's out of it a couple of episodes. We got an interesting backstory here, sort of Dark Knight-esque, which was interesting considering Batson was in the Dark Knight. But Murdoc claims he killed his son's mom, his son's birthday, which was his son's birth, in other words. So, if true, that's an interesting twist to the Murdoc lore, or to the twisted Murdoc lore. MacGyver didn't quite believe him, so, you know, the jury's still out on whether that was true or not. But I found that interesting. Murdoc also claimed that he stole the name Murdoc after killing Murdoc, which I thought was another interesting thing. Are they going to try to bring back maybe Michael Disbarry's as the original Murdoc, maybe surviving? Yeah, that would be exciting. That would be cool. I'd like to see that. The guy they were going after to save, I had to point this out. He, of course, turned out to be another. The actor, I thought I recognized him, and his name is Anthony Stark. Tony Stark, you get it? That's why I recognized him. It was Tony Stark. He's a good actor. He played the Ghost in the original Flash TV show, and so that it's great to see that he popped up in something else that I watched, because and so yeah, the search for MacGyver's dad goes on. This was probably the best episode of all the episodes. I'm going to give this one. I'm going to give this one 5 stars out of 5. Yeah, 5 stars out of 5. Okay, we've got our final episode here of the night. The final episode of MacGyver, the Halloween episode. They tried to, the jump scares and stuff a bit. A mission in the Bermuda Triangle where you know, he was funny all along. He's basically afraid of how this was going to go in the Bermuda Triangle, and too. Um, they're supposed to be trying to find missing soldiers on the island, and one of them being son of the vice president. That was interesting. Yeah, there was a funny phone gag where the phone is ringing. And that's Bowser. There's funny things like that have been happening in this episode. Um, split up. That's the first thing that you learn when you watch the horror movies. You don't split up. It's just funny stuff like that all along. The villain was a crazy woman. I don't remember what her name was, but it reminded me of Deborah. I was wondering if they were going to bring Deborah into it. Because remember Deborah from the original MacGyver show? A hit woman that like seduced MacGyver and stuff. But this didn't look nothing like that. Anything like that. But she was a cross between Deborah and the character's name in Psych that was played by there's kind of like a cross between them two. I don't know. It's like they got those two characters together and then turned into her. It was funny. They did a cool gimmick with the battery. That's how MacGyver resolved the whole problem by having her get the huge battery because she had so many metal plates in her or whatever. Had the Halloween costume party, which was cute. They had them all dressed up as Gothic of Oz. Mac is the wizard. I think that when you look at it, it was pretty interesting that they kind of tried to add the characters to the counterparts. Like for instance, Reilly was the Scarecrow because of course the Scarecrow, is she has a brain. There was the Cowardly Lion because of course he's, Jack was the Tin Man because he's uh, that made Cage Dorothy. I can't remember because she's like not in Kansas anymore since she was from. No jokes about Maddie being the Wicked Witch of the West or anything, or the mayor of Munchkinville or a blue monkey, nothing like that. So she was completely out of it. I would give that one maybe 4.5 stars out of 5. The others getting 4, except for the Murdoc one getting 5. Partially caught up with MacGyver. I got 2 more episodes left to watch of that. But show we went about an hour and a half this week because we had both and this week in comic book television. Hope you enjoyed it. Check out my Thor Ragnarok review. We just did it yesterday, and also check out the link in the description below for my website, and you can check out my comic, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon, Private Eye. Lots of exciting stuff going on there. We've got 4 issues for you to check out. You can also check out, I also wanted to mention, it's a little late, but when I was mentioning my Mice Expo show, that I was saying that I did 2 interviews. The second interview is up now, too, on my website. You can see both of them there. From FETV, I think is how he pronounces it. And I want to thank him, Dave, for the interview. It was a very view. I enjoyed it a lot doing it with him and with Tommy's Toy Travels. So you can check them out on my link in the description below. It's still up there. You can still see it for the next couple of weeks, probably before it gets, moved on to the side. Check out my website also, Johnny's Jukebox. I had a lot of fun with that. I get a lot of people checking out the videos that I post. I post a different song every day. At least I try to. It's a lot of fun. And let me know what you think about it, either here or on Twitter, which you can also find in the link in the description below. To like, share, subscribe, smash that subscribe button. Smash it if you haven't already. I was deleting some of my subscriptions again. I'm down to 71 after having 73. Yeah, that's what happens in this crazy YouTube world we live in. Next next week on the only way to spend your Saturday here with us on Johnny Torch Live. Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly